Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us this Friday. I'm Jeanelle Slade.
And I'm Jay Cohn. Montana's business economy falls short when compared against our neighboring states.
A recent survey from the financial network CNBC puts Texas #1 for the country for best states for business. Montana, number 34.
The state's unemployment rate dropped below 4% this month as Montana remains near full employment.
This situation continues to raise concern that a shallow talent pool will make it difficult to fill jobs. Now, that struggle in talent attraction lands Montana in the bottom third.
But even though we rank low, financial experts say we can still build on our strengths.
No, I think Montana is absolutely a great place for business. But Montana needs to pay attention to what's going on in the rest of the country and the rest of the world. Communities are investing in themselves. They want to be attractive to talent. We have to be in that game, and it's going to require that we're strategic with investing in those things that can build our economy and build our talent.
Turns out our neighboring states all fared better in this survey. Idaho came in at number 11, South Dakota number 20, Wyoming was 26th. North Dakota comes in at 29.
Montana did well in a few areas. Our quality of life is rated number 7, and the cost of doing business is in the top 15. But our workforce and available job seekers is ranked 45th. Montana is ranked 38th for access to capital. The statewide Business Innovation Conference is planned for Billings August 8th and 9th.
It's called the Innovate Montana Symposium, the first of its kind in the state to help startups get running.
Montana Governor Steve Bullock takes over the reins of the National Governors Association tomorrow. Bullock will be installed Saturday evening as the new NGA chairman at the group's annual gathering in Tucson. Founded in 1908, the National Governors Association is the nonpartisan collective voice of the nation's governors. It focuses on matters of public policy and governance at the state and national levels. Bullock's special focus as chairman will be to lead a national conversation on what he calls good jobs for all Americans, an effort to map out challenges facing state economies and labor markets. He says, quote, as governors, we must ensure workers have economic security and a pathway to long-term prosperity so companies can recruit and manage a workforce that meets their needs. Bullock says that effort will focus on reskilling mid-career workers as well as empowering the rural workforce. Montana First Lady Lisa Bullock will work with spouses of the nation's governors to address early childhood education and childhood hunger.
State prosecutors will not seek the death penalty against one of the men who gunned down Broadwater County Deputy Mason Moore. Prosecutors cite an extensive analysis of Lloyd Barris's history of mental health issues as the primary reason they're not asking for the state's most severe penalty. It was May 16th of last year when Barris and his son Marshall shot and killed Deputy Moore following a high-speed chase near Three Forks. During the pursuit, Deputy Moore was wounded and forced to pull over. Dash cam video then showed the Barrises returning to the scene and shooting Deputy Moore multiple times. Law enforcement eventually caught up with the two suspects near Missoula, where a gunfight ensued in which Marshall Barris was killed and Lloyd Barris was arrested. At a hearing this past June, Judge Kathy Seeley found Barris mentally unfit for future court proceedings. Judge Seeley also ordered the state hospital to develop a treatment plan that could allow Barris's court case to continue in the future. Well, some good news tonight. Montana's largest fire that's burning currently, the Reynolds Lake Fire, is now holding steady, just over 1,000 acres in size with no growth in the last 24 hours. But as the fire danger increases across the state, the Montana Department of Natural Resources and Conservation getting set to begin fire suppression efforts. MTN's Jonathan Ambarian tonight has an update for us on how the state is prepping for another bad fire year.
Leaders with Montana DNRC say the state's fire season is already in full swing. State and local responders have dealt with dozens of small wildfires in recent weeks.
We've responded to 224 fires and contained those fires to a total of 2,700 acres.
State Forester Sonia Gurman says forecasters predicted a later start to the fire season, but a longer season overall. Each year, DNRC adds about 140 seasonal staff to respond to fires. Gurman says they've been fully trained and assigned to their positions.
Our units are staffed and ready, and our equipment, including our aviation equipment, is staffed and ready.
Currently, the state of Montana has about $42 million in its fire suppression fund, but much of that will be used to cover costs from last year's record fire season. The net balance is only around $4 million. Leaders say they will find alternative sources of fire funding if they need it.
Regardless of the balance in the fire suppression account, that's not going to change the way that we respond to wildfire.
Gurman asked people across the state to be especially cautious as fire conditions get more dangerous.
We just really want to send a message out to people to be aware of their trailers, trailer chains, how they're using their equipment on their property and other people's property, and also any type of fires that they may be utilizing for recreation or on their property.
In Helena, Jonathan Amberian, MTN News.
And Jonathan tells us that DNRC says after last year's fires, thousands of firefighters came to them to get additional training, plus hundreds of homeowners in Montana have also now asked for help with fire mitigation.
Back here in Billings, the recent rock slide along Mountain View Boulevard remains untouched since a large portion of the rims came tumbling down almost a month ago. You recall the huge car-sized boulder that fell? Well, it still sits on the roadway, plus smaller boulders still litter properties below the site, almost as if the slide happened yesterday. Resident Sherry Onstead-Lee says she's happy with the work the city has done to make her home accessible, but she's hoping more of the boulders can be cleared soon. The city engineer, meanwhile, tells us the assessment done by geotechnical firm Terracon confirms that the rock above the road is too unstable to begin clearing any of the boulders down below. Now, this means the work will need to start up on the rims, which will require an outside contractor. The city is hopeful work can begin within a few weeks. And they've got their fingers crossed. Yes. Turning to our weather scene tonight, Bob, we've got our fingers crossed there as well. We've got an action-packed weekend, packed with gorgeous weather.
Yeah, let me show you what we can have. This is our Big Sky State Games forecast, and you'll notice tomorrow morning it's going to be sunny, 73 degrees. I should say 63 degrees at 7 o'clock. It's going to be 89 by noon, and mostly sunny skies by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, getting up to 93 degrees. But that'll be the last time we see that kind of heat for about a week or so, because then at 7 we start cooling down to 89 degrees, and then after that a new cold front moves through, and then temperatures start cooling down to the 80s every day next week all the way through into Friday. We'll have a look at that coming up in a few more minutes. Jay, Jeanelle?
All right, thanks, Bob.
Coming up on tonight's 10 o'clock news, a tragic accident takes the life of 17 people in Missouri. We'll bring you the latest on the investigation. And coming up later in sports tonight, it's the start of the Big Sky State Games. In the spotlight, the Montana Mile. Former senior star Christina Aragon, she won it 3 times. Would today be number 4?
You're watching MTN News with Jay Cohn and Jeanelle Slade. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Green. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.